Putting a world championship on a newcomer, throwing an untested entity into a main event spot, or even just allowing two already established superstars to go out and call an entire bout on the fly, all fall into the category of risky business in the mind of WWE Chairman Vince McMahon. But when said chance is taken and fans react positively to the move, the boss happily leans back in his nice comfy leather chair and counts the millions this gamble will now steadily pump into his bank account. Yet for every risky WWE choice which eventually paid dividends, there's also another which left both the company and fans watching all around the world nursing an almighty headache. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 WWE wrestlers who really weren't worth the trouble. Number 10. Lars Sullivan. Whatever momentum Lars Sullivan had coming into his main roster debut in April 2019 was quickly extinguished by a serious knee injury, and news of a number of racist, sexist, and homophobic messages Sullivan had sent via an account on the bodybuilding.com forum a few years earlier. WWE were clearly hoping these past comments would be forgotten about by the time Sullivan returned to the main roster in October of this year. But they were not counting on the wrestler being in the news for all the wrong reasons yet again soon after his comeback appearance. Sullivan was accused of harassing a woman on Instagram by sending her inappropriate messages on the social media platform. With the freak garnering more attention for his demeanor outside of the ring than in it, surely WWE must now be questioning their decision to put their eggs in this particular basket. Number 9. Hulk Hogan. Back in July 2015, WWE tore up the immortal Hulk Hogan's contract due to the company being committed to embracing and celebrating individuals from all backgrounds. A disgusting racist rant made by Hogan in a leaked sex tape had just been revealed to the world, and WWE quickly went about erasing the Hulkster from their history. Yet, time heals all wounds in the eyes of Vinnie Mac. So by the time July 2018 rolled around, Hogan was welcomed back to WWE with open arms. Well, from some. The New Day famously commented that they would not associate with the people who convey or have conveyed this negative and hurtful mindset, in the wake of the wrestling legend's apology to the WWE locker room at Extreme Rules 2018. Yet it wasn't just those in the back who were divided when it came to Hogan. Fans are still audibly split whenever the Hulkster struts down the ramp, and this has led to WWE shamelessly pushing him as an attraction on the Saudi shows more than anything else. Was it really worth regularly pissing off large portions of the fan base just to have Hogan flex a little bit on TV after such a public controversy? As long as Vince has that Saudi dollar rolling in, the boss likely doesn't care either way. Number 8. Alberto Del Rio. When Alberto Del Rio was infamously fired for unprofessional conduct after an altercation with a WWE employee he claimed had made a racist joke, most people didn't expect to see the Mexican star plying his trade in the company's ring again for quite some time. However, just over a year after his departure, Del Rio was back in Vince McMahon's empire. By August of the following year, though, Del Rio had lost much of that returning sparkle, been suspended for 30 days due to his first wellness policy violation, and was eventually granted his release after growing tired of the empty promises WWE were making him regarding a main event push. This made the decision to bring him back at all seem like a dumb one, as WWE clearly had no intention of pushing him as anything more than an upper mid-card heel, or at the very best a body for Roman Reigns to steamroll. Recently, the former WWE star has been charged with aggravated kidnapping and sexual assault, so don't expect Vince McMahon and co to open their doors to Del Rio ever again. Number 7. Goldberg. Bill Goldberg's initial 2016 return to the land of the Giants was admittedly a rather successful one. Sure, Kevin Owens' Universal Championship run was plowed through in next to no time in order to enhance Da Man and Da Beast's Mania program. But Goldberg and Brock Lesnar's Show of Shows explosion was arguably the most exciting 5-minute match you'll ever see. Sadly though, by the time 2019 rolled around, the hype surrounding the returning former WCW icon had all but disappeared. An all-time stinker against The Undertaker in Saudi Arabia was the first sign that this part-time train needed to be stopped in its tracks. But it was his unlikely victory over Bray Wyatt's The Fiend at Super Showdown in 2020, which really highlighted just how fed up fans had actually become with their new Universal Champion. Thankfully, the aging veteran dropped the belt to Braun Strowman at WrestleMania 36. But let's just hope WWE learns their lesson and doesn't feed another rising star to the man. Don't count on it though. Number 6. Kevin Nash. CM Punk had just overcome the mighty John Cena in the main event of SummerSlam 2011 to become the undisputed WWE champion. But this moment was still missing something. You know, like a Kevin Nash run-in that would ultimately cost the new champ his title. Then, instead of the pair squaring off in a match at the upcoming Night of Champions pay-per-view as was previously planned, Triple H stepped in at the last minute due to Nash legitimately not being medically cleared to compete. Eventually, Nash was able to take part in a bout later down the line, but the Punk ship had thoroughly sailed. So he wound up doing the job for old pal Trips in a ladder match with added sledgehammer at TLC Tables, Ladders and Chairs. The whole thing was unfortunately a huge waste of time though, stifling Punk's ridiculous momentum all because the game fancied working with one of his buddies for a spell. Number 5. Big Cass. Enzo Amore and Big Cass were viewed as one of the most entertaining and charismatic duos WWE had seen in quite some time, when the pair burst onto the main roster scene in April 2016. Bizarrely though, the company opted to split the team just over a year into their careers outside of NXT. This ultimately threw Cass into heelish waters he wasn't fully equipped for at the time. A torn ACL would sideline Cass for a significant spell in the wake of his feud with old pal Enzo. But things didn't get much better for him when he finally recovered and made his presence known on SmackDown Live in April 2018. During his feud with a returning Daniel Bryan, Cass would go against Vince McMahon's direct orders, excessively beating up a little person impersonating D. Bry, when he was strictly told only to deliver a big boot. This incident, on top of a number of behavioral issues, ultimately cost him his job with the company, with WWE clearly sensing that the star was simply more trouble than he was worth at that moment in time. Number 4. Enzo Amore. Once Big Cass went down injured during the two's feud post-breakup, Enzo Amore was in need of a new direction, and that's when the soon-to-be disastrous decision was made to throw the loudmouth star onto 205 Live and turn him heel in the process. Allowing the cocky prick Amore character to lean into the booze made enough sense. It was the fact Vince McMahon opted to build the rest of the division and show around him which kick-started some trouble. Clearly sensing that the boss wanted to turn 205 Live into yet another sports entertainment playground, the king of the cruiserweights Neville soon packed his bags and went home in the wake of dropping his cruiserweight belt to the New Jersey native. This actually planted Amore even more firmly in the spotlight for a while longer, quickly killing off all the momentum 205 Live had picked up with Neville at the top of the mountain. However, his time in the company would quickly come to an end just a few months later, when WWE opted to release their cruiserweight champion in light of a sexual assault allegation made against Amore. The former WWE employee would later infamously crash the 2018 Survivor Series pay-per-view, and has acted as a thorn in the company's side ever since. Number 3. Nia Jax. A little bit of wear and tear is to be expected when you're throwing yourself around a ring and colliding with other human beings for a living. However, when one specific star repeatedly hurts their colleagues due to a lack of experience or awareness when it comes to performing in the ring, you'd like to think WWE would be wise enough to give said performer a bit more time to improve before throwing them back into a televised match. Unfortunately, when it comes to Nia Jax, WWE preferred the trial by fire approach, and this has led to numerous stars all feeling the burn over the years. Then, just when it seemed like Jax had been gifted with some time to sharpen her skills in the wake of her multiple knee surgeries, she returned in April 2020 and injured Kairi Sane in one of her last matches before exiting the company. Jax definitely stands out as one of the most unique performers currently in the women's division, but up to this point her tenure in WWE has produced more pain than pleasure for those watching and sharing the ring with her. Number 2. James Ellsworth. What first started as a paint-by-numbers squash appearance during an episode of Monday Night Raw soon snowballed into the most unlikeliest of WWE runs for James Ellsworth. Going from Braun Strowman's idea of a snack to SmackDown Live Survivor Series mascot, Ellsworth even somehow found himself involved in the WWE Championship picture for a spell. Yet after a hit-and-miss relationship with Carmella on screen, Ellsworth's WWE journey finally reached its conclusion in November 2017. Only it didn't. Ellsworth shocked the world in June 2018 by returning and costing Asuka a SmackDown Women's Championship match against his old associate Carmella. By this point, however, fans had most definitely grown tired of Ellsworth's shtick, and his constant presence in the Carmella-Asuka feud soon led to him regularly earning the dreaded go-away heat from audiences worldwide, until he would eventually be turfed out yet again in July, should Carmella ever reclaim the Blue Brand's women's belt. Let's not make this same mistake again, WWE. The Ellsworth party is over. Move on. Number 1. John Laurinitis. On-screen authority figures aren't what you class as welcome additions to WWE programming at the best of times. But if the suited-up head of a brand possesses some charisma and knows how to cut a half-decent promo on the mic, most fans will just accept this stale trope and get on with their lives. John Laurinitis was sadly lacking in both of these necessary areas, which is why his tenure as Raw general manager isn't exactly what you class as fondly remembered. Instead, Big Johnny's reign is forever linked to one of the worst creative spells in the company's history. All in all, Laurinitis may not have been a full-time in-ring performer during his run, but his constant mind-numbing presence and ability to make fans wish they were anywhere else but in a WWE arena was destined to harm the product from the get-go. Thankfully, Mr. McMahon eventually came to his senses and ushered Laurinitis back off TV. But the stain of people power will forever be visible whenever fans choose to rediscover early 2010s WWE. Which, if you want my advice, don't do it. And that's our list. Know of any other WWE wrestlers who really weren't worth the trouble? Let us know all about them in the comments section below. Also, be sure to head on over to whatculture.com and click on some more incredible articles just like the one this video is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon.